mumblings over there somewhere in St Albans. I think we're ready to go with a Podful of Saints on Wednesday, the 29th of January 2025. When we're looking back on, well, nothing but 1-1 draws, really. Salisbury on Saturday, Tonbridge Angels last night, and probably Hampton and Richmond this coming Saturday. And who's going to kick it off? Well, we're kicking it off with Jake Ellacott and Lee Wood. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Not even evening yet.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. I hope you're well.
Well, of course we are. We can't lose. We never lose. We're well. Right. Last Saturday, we go back to there. We were down at Wiltshire. First visit to Old Sarum, Partridge Way, home of Salisbury. Not Salisbury City, as the signs outside the ground kept trying to tell us. They disappeared about 12 years ago, whatever it was. And the current club, of course, put together by Ian Ridley and Steve Clarridge and a few others. Evening, Ian, by the time you're watching this. What do we make of the game? Salisbury in pretty decent form going into it. We'd had a couple of draws behind us. But Ian Culverhouse spoke about it, didn't he? We were slow out of the blocks first half, and we undoubtedly were. And it nearly cost us, didn't it? I don't know what you two made of it from behind the goal.
Go on, Lee.
Well, why don't you tell me, Tabs? Because I spoke to you about 5 minutes in, mate, and you'd already decided which way the game was going to go. Mate. So, yes, again, slow start. It was an odd one because I think we went there with quite high expectations, Jake. Did we not? Listen, there's a reason why we played the way we had to play towards the latter end of the game. But the first half, excuse me, just a bit leggy, perhaps. You know, we tried to push it a little bit too much, and Salisbury were there for the taking. And unfortunately, just the fact that individual errors and maybe a lack of concentration in the end means we didn't really get off to the greatest of starts.
You go along with that, Jake?
Yeah, I think I do. And before I go into the whole game and everything, I did just want to say, and don't normally do this, but the away support on Saturday, superb. Yeah. Away support all season has been superb. Normally we mention it at the end of the game. What I mentioned at the start, these fans have been, I would say, through a lot of thick and thin, but it's mainly been one of those this season away from home. And it's been absolutely brilliant. A lot of fans spent a lot of money to go there on Saturday, and the support was superb as always. So well done, everyone. Can't disagree, Lee. I thought first half we were a bit slow out the traps. I think Sean Jeffers he had one that the defender cleared right in front of him that's close, and then there was another one that Dom Hutchinson was bursting through the middle and should have passed to Jeffers to his left. But aside from that, we struggled to put our sort of mark on the game, didn't we, in that first 45? And I think come the end of the half, I think most of us were quite happy just to go in with one goal behind, to be honest.
I want to pick up on the fans, actually, before I forget later on, which I'm prone to do. I totally agree with you. I thought support Saturday was excellent. It has been excellent all season. Fans have been terrific. I just want to say in the interviews, every time he puts a question to Ian, how important is it the fans are behind them? Well, look at the results. It hasn't been the slightest bit important at all. It hasn't made a jot of difference to our results this season. But they have been superb. And Saturday, you could easily miss a game like that. But no, they went down there in numbers and they made a lot of noise. And we will come on to how they run their club down there in a little while. Yes, get back. That first half, a goal. Was it 6 minutes before half time? David Longking went out to try and tackle Aidan Elliott Wheeler. Wheeler got a lucky rebound and went past it. It's funny that Wheeler, contributes something useful. It's not a phrase you're used to, is it? And he got down there. What's up? And Noah Coppin put the ball across, and just a simple tap in, wasn't it? For what's his name? Ronan Silva, totally unmarked. Because once Longking went across, he got the ball, but the rebound went off Elliott Wheeler, and of course he was able to carry on. So should Longking have gone across and just smashed the ball out and take the player as well if he had to? Because once he'd gone, Dion Woodman then had two players. He didn't know whether to go to out wide or stay in the middle. And Tafari Moore had been slow to pick up his man, the guy who got the goal in the end. So he had a free run in. So once Longking went out there and lost the ball, we were up to Swanee without a paddle, weren't we? Or down to Swanee, whichever way we want to go up it.
Massively. I think that goal has got to be at the feet of Longking, to be fair, because you've got to do your job first, defend the ball, tackle him. He sort of almost led with his wrong foot. And as a result, it was just like a nonchalant sort of just putting your foot in there. You've got to commit to those, especially in that area. You know, how many times did we lose the ball in key areas on Saturday? And just seems so to react. Really, a Saturday which is unlike a team that we've seen so far under Culverhouse and Bastock. David Longking, for me, has got to smash that fella out the ground, take the ball with him, and that doesn't happen. And it's disappointing because David Longking has been an absolute colossus for us over the last sort of 2 months. And yeah, he left Woodman in a sort of stick or twist situation, and ultimately, mate, is an easy goal. But mistakes like that, you know, were the bane of Nobby's tenure early on in the season, and it seems to be sort of creeping back into our game again a little bit this time around.
Yeah, and we didn't look like scoring in that first half at all, I didn't think. No. The thing that I found surprising, we all knew is a game we had to win. Salisbury quite happy with the point. They kept a 10-point gap over us, so they're happy with that. They would have wanted to win. They should have had it. But God, who's the one who missed that chance late on? Oh, it was Coppin again. Crikey, one of us three could have scored that, or even looking the other way. That could be costly for them in the end. Those 2 lost points thanks to that error, but they should have won it. But Jake, I say, we had to go there knowing to win, really, because we've got to do something to stop them pulling away and close that gap. And first half, you wouldn't have read that from our play.
No, you wouldn't have. And I did think the second half was much improved, wasn't it? I think we're just coming a bit of a story under Culverhouse and Bazza. Second half, much better. Actually, it's probably been the story all season. I mean, we've scored so few goals in the first half of this campaign in any game. But yeah, much better second half, wasn't it? But I think a lot of us really thought we'd see a blood and fun performance from the start, going out there, knowing the importance of the game, and it wasn't there. Second half, much better. But when you have a man sent off so relatively early, unfortunately, we weren't able to see how that was going to carry on, did we? So, but I agree with you. First half, I thought we should have imposed ourselves much more because Salisbury weren't spectacular, were they? Really, I didn't think. And there was certainly a game there for the taking, I thought.
At half-time, Dom Hutchinson was taken off and Gio Rasulu was brought on. For the first 15 minutes, we didn't batter them, but we were certainly on top. Alfie Bendel cushioned one across the face of a goal, which Sean couldn't get on. And then Harrison Smith scored that wonderful equaliser. Lovely turn, drilled it across the keeper. The keeper stood up, mind you, would have smacked into his chest and he'd have saved it. But that was a very good finish, good goal. And we had all the momentum. And then James Clarridge, to me, he's become a bit of a problem. He had that slice clearance, immature slice clearance against Enfield. We'll let them get the goal back there. Well, he needn't have done it. He should have just fought and put it down the pitch. And again on Saturday, he cost us. That was stupid. Having already been booked, to pull a bloke back in a modern game, you're going to get booked. And that took the wind out of our sails, didn't it? He's got good things about his games, Clarridge, no doubt about it, but he doesn't have to give that ball away freely. And he's costing us possession quite a bit. So, he's going to sit this Saturday out, so he's got time to ponder things a bit. But there's a decent player in there, but there's a lot of improvement needed as well. And when we went down to 10, we did lose our momentum, didn't we?
Yeah. Go on, Lee.
We did, but I'd just say about Clarridge, I don't think he's been the best 4 days he's spent in a City shirt. The management persevere with him sort of playing in that sort of more central midfield role, sort of trying to break up stuff. Although last night he played in a different role entirely. But I think a calmer head would have prevailed in that occasion. But since we went down to 10 men, Gio came on and he looked lively. I've been one of his biggest critics so far this season, but I think he put in a good shift. But we all had to. And we can harp on about the characteristics of this side when we backs against the wall and all of that, but ultimately it doesn't help us in the long run. We should really hit the ground running in games like these. And as Jake said, Salisbury were a poor side, really, I thought. Yes, they had a couple of gilt-edge chances, but ultimately they were there for the taking. And if Clarridge stays on the pitch, we probably impose ourselves a bit more. You can see that momentum swinging. Our fans were at the side really sort of cheering them on, although they had no effect on the game at all, Tavs, obviously. But then we kick on, and who knows, we might have got. One thing I would say is a tale of two strikers. But Harrison Smith on Saturday was absolutely exceptional. I thought he used his body really, really well. He bullied and battered Salisbury, but without cheating to do so. He was just strong. He wanted it a little bit more. His goal was superb. Even if the keeper did get in the way of that, it would have taken him into the back of the net as well. Flip side of that, SJ9. That chance he had in the start of the second half. Any other season that he's with us, he buries that in the back of the net. He's really fallen off. He's fallen off massively. People say, "Oh, he's not getting the service." Well, I'm not entirely sure Bender could have played that ball much more on a plate for him. Jeffers of old would have been there on his toes, sweeping that in. I think it's sad to see him sort of go down this path. And I think he's had to adapt his game accordingly. I think, Tabs, you've said it week in and week out. He's lost a little bit of pace. He's got a family now. Is his heart really still in it? Blah, blah, blah. I think his heart is still in it. And I think he still does want to perform, obviously, at the top level for City. But it's getting hard to defend at the minute. The fact that Jeffers is missing these chances and it's costing us games. Hopefully he'll come good. We heard last night, and we will get on to the Tonbridge game shortly, but he's been carrying a bug for the last week or so. And look, the fella's ill, so maybe that had a contribution to it. But ultimately, chances like that, especially when we are creating very few chances, to get one as gilt edge as that, really got to be put away.
Yeah, I'd like to see it again from a better angle, see how close he was to getting it. Because he seemed to dive in, maybe a bit late, I don't know. I haven't updated the stat for a while, but I think his goals are something like 1 goal in his last 15 starts, something like that, which is not the best of returns for any player, let alone a player of Sean's quality. Unfortunately, yes, it is not working for him at all at the moment. And you say about the illness, but we'll touch on that in a minute. One thing I was disappointed in, you can understand why they did it. The last 10 minutes, we were time wasting on Saturday. MJ did it, and in fact, Brandon Mason on his debut got booked for time wasting on a throw. I thought we should still have gone for it, in with 10 men. We're at that place now. We're almost at the last chance saloon. And how much longer are we going to wait before we really go for it? We're coming to a Tonbridge match in a minute, which may suggest that we are starting to go down that road. But I agree with you, Lee. I thought Salisbury were not a great side. Their record this season tells you that. They've been on a decent run of late. But we should have got at them. We should have got them from the start in the first half, and the players should have known it, but they were too lackadaisical early on. And so just at the start of the second half, we've only got blown to pieces. They were there for the taking, but they should have won it, as it happens.
Yeah.
There you go, Jake.
It was a hell of a miss, wasn't it, by them guys? It would have been nice to see us try and push on. And we did have a very short flurry, didn't we, in the last couple of minutes, but it just wasn't enough. And I do understand why we sat back, because, in the situation we're in, you probably would take a point given 10 men, because, it's baked in at the minute, isn't it, this season? It's been a failure from the start on the pitch. And
it sounds better, doesn't it? If you go like a man down and you see out a point, it sounds better.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, Tav. You've got to go for all three, and we are at that stage. But you don't want to come, you don't want to sort of get to April and we lose out by a point. You know what I mean? And then you start thinking back, if we just held out away to Salisbury. Stuff like that does start sort of creeping into your psyche, right, Jake?
Yeah. Well, the other way, as you look at it, thank goodness we got those 2 extra points at Salisbury.
No, absolutely. I think what was noticeable to me, I thought we looked quite tired towards the end of the as well, from the amount of defending we'd had to do. And I think we just lost all initiative. And I think if we don't have a man sent off, that game finishes very differently. But it is what it is. The situation we're in, some players stepped up, like you said, Gio Rosillo. I thought the centre halves looked pretty decent, pretty commanding. After Long King's initial mistake for their goal, looked much better. Tafari Moore looked decent on the right-hand side again. There's positives. It's just, when you're playing a lad in central midfield who really isn't a central midfielder and he's been having to do a job there, there's always going to be some mistakes, isn't there, unfortunately? And those 2 yellow cards, or at least a second yellow card was one, and it's cost us, really, because on another day, I think we probably could have come away with that with 3 points.
Well, we mentioned earlier, Brandon Mason came in for his debut. I haven't been released by Wealdstone. He's only played 7 league games for them this season, so he's hardly had a lot of football so far this season. Came in for Jack James, who eventually found out about 3 days later he got a pelvic injury. Mason, of course, we found out just minutes before the kickoff, because our media doesn't like giving out information that apparently a lot of people knew about 3 days earlier. I don't understand what's happening with club media this season. It's just gone down the pan. He looked quite decent, didn't he? 27 years old, got quite a decent background behind him, even though he's had a few spells where he hasn't had a club for a while.
I thought he's looked decent these last 2 games, talking about the whole picture. And what he adds is a bit of experience at the back, doesn't he? He's 27. He's had a lot of football, and especially in the Football League. And I thought you could see that in the last 2 games. He's got a bit of nous about him. He knows how to play the game. He's all right. I mean, I wouldn't have said left wing back was a position crying out, but then when you look at the squad, the imbalance, we've got quite a few right-sided players and not really left-sided. So, but to me, I think he's going to be a decent addition for the rest of the campaign. And it's nice to see us bring in someone that's got a bit of experience of being in teams in serious situations and high-pressure situations. So that is nice to see. And I wouldn't be shocked if he becomes a bit of a leader at the back, hopefully.
We're going to move on to squad changes later, but I'd imagine you'll be pleased to see that sort of player coming in, Lee, somebody with a bit of experience, not another kid.
I don't mind the kids as long as they've got the pedigree, but I think this fella certainly has got that. As you say, how much football he's played, is that a detriment or not? Because the fact is he could be that little bit fresher. Look, he did well. How much can we really gauge at sort of 2 games from him? You know, time will tell. As Jake said, I like the fact that we're looking at options. Versatility probably isn't his strongest suit, but ultimately the formation is going to be key in all of this. I don't mind bringing in kids, Tavs, as long as they're good enough. We've had some that are absolute belters. We've had some that haven't worked out. So hopefully getting someone in who's a bit older, a bit more experienced is going to be a good thing.
Good. Okay. I thought Salisbury as a club, their officials, their helpers, volunteers, what you want to call them, and the stewards, I thought extremely polite, but as nice as anybody we've been to this season. Genuinely nice, not just stiff collar. Yes, do this, do that. Very, very friendly, but they let themselves down with some ridiculous rules. Segregation, a crowd of just over 800, absolute nonsense. We're checking the bags of everybody, especially old gits and their pockets and everything. Your lady said, "Do you mind?" I said, "Yes, this is National League South." And we've actually backed away. It was just over the top. And a couple of things inside the ground as well, which is such a shame, because I thought actually they're a very nice club, very nice people. They just need to tinker with their rules and regulations a little bit.
You and your rules and regulations. Who moans being felt up by a female? Seriously, I mean, it's absolutely outrageous, Tash. The thing is, bags, to be fair, we asked about 3 different people at Salisbury why the game was segregated. One of their officials said it's because of the Salisbury youth element. They can't be trusted. Apparently, one of the stewards said that they contacted our club and said, "Are we aware of any of our youth element which may cause trouble?" And there was no immediate reply, so therefore they had no chance to segregate. And then someone else entirely, this all Salisbury steward said, every game is segregated. So make out of that whatever you will. I thought it was a shame because the fans that we met in the Sound Centre, Jake, they were really, really nice. They were welcoming. And I thought it's non-league at this level should be about making those connections and having a good day. And it was a good day, but it would have been even better, I feel, if you were to have a share beer or 2 afterwards with the Salisbury fans. But it is what it is.
Also, if they know they got a problem with this small group, well, you work on that. You don't punish everybody else, especially supporters that have travelled a round trip of well over 200 miles to get there. I think we're all agreeing they could have dealt that side a little bit better. But that side, the grounds are pretty good. Grounds are right. Parking's a nightmare nearby. But yeah, a good day. We got a point on the road.
Hey, yeah, we enjoyed the public transport links, didn't we, Lee? Cramming onto a very small bus to try and get to a ground that's about 4 miles out of town. I hope that's not foreshadowing for anything in our future. So
Hey.
that wasn't it wasn't there genuinely wasn't a great experience in terms of getting to the ground, and you can see why some Salisbury fans aren't happy about where they're based because it's a long old trek out there, and that is why you need everything set up to actually work if you're ever going to move to an out of town ground. So. Yeah,
How far is the town centre to Chiswell Green, fellas? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, but I no
Carry on,
doubt
carry on.
I'll see you down there tomorrow with one of those little rolling things counting it. So
Rolling things.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we had Chiswell Green, we had Westminster Lodge in about 1963, we had the grounds of Loretto College in the 1920s, Hatfield, one of the previous chairman, was threatening to take us over there, wasn't he? Well, we're going everywhere, but we haven't actually moved anywhere, as it turns out. Right, let's move on to last night at Clarence Park. Surprise, surprise, a 1-1 draw, third one in a row, fourth successive draw for us. That first 45 minutes, well, in the 55 years I've been watching this club, that was as bad as any 45
No.
minutes
155 years
from
mate.
a City side. We were woeful. There was no pattern. There was no heart. There was no cohesion. We played like a side that was already mathematically down. Even if we won the next 100 games, we'd have still gone down. And it was pathetic to watch. It was embarrassing. The comments all around. There were some boos at half time, which you seldom get. That's from the few people that were still awake. And Tonbridge, without playing particularly well, were coasting to victory. Thanks to Alfie Brendel heading was it Sean Shields' free kick into his own net, which is very unlucky. We saw his last headed goal as well, didn't we, in one of our games in the FA Cup. But Tonbridge, it's interesting. After the game, Jay Saunders said he was proud of his players. When you find out they had about 7 players out with injury, including Jamie Fielding, who was outstanding when we went down to their place earlier in the season. So taking that into context, yes. But we'll come on to the second half in a minute. Did you two enjoy those opening 45?
Not as much as you, mate, obviously. We try and keep it light, and then Tabs comes on and it goes south very, very quickly.
Go on then, find something light about that. I'll challenge you.
But I agree with you in segments of that little rant you just unravelled upon us. It was the worst half of football this season that I've seen. Probably even go back a couple of seasons. It was just bereft of ideas. And bearing in mind that we've had some pretty dark days over the last sort of 2 years, that first half was unacceptable. If nothing else, it was unacceptable considering the situation we find ourselves in. Everyone knows our plight. Everyone knows what we need out of this game. And to start like that, I'm going to go as far to say I thought the selection was wrong from the start. That midfield, considering we got overrun in a matter we did against Salisbury, to then make it even more lightweight. You know, you've moved Clarridge out of there. You brought Gio in along with Bendel. You've got Banton pushing on. There's going to be gaps there. There's going to be huge gaps there. And I think they just got it wrong. There's lacked width. It lacked pace and it lacked width. And I think at home, when you've got the type of players who need and the type of result we need to get, you need width to sort of try and stretch those. But again, you know, it's going to be extremely hard for me to sit there and lump on the formation because what do I know in comparison to the management team? But it just looked as that. As the first half unfolded, you could see that Tonbridge were just dominating our midfield, absolutely dominating. And yet it took for an injury to Sean Jeffers to be taken off. They changed the formation a bit. But that was like latter end of the first half. They just seemed to sort of watch it unfold before them, hoping that someone was going to get a foothold of the game and sort of try and catapult us up our end of the pitch for a change. But it just didn't happen.
No, everything about it was woeful. But Jake will now tell us how wonderful it actually was that first half, Jake.
Oh, it was absolutely superb. I don't know why, but I'm trying to find something now. No, I can't think of it. Yeah, it was really, really bad. And you know, Dave, I haven't supported City for 55 years like you, although I think about longer than that. I've seen worse displays than that, but it was easily the worst display this season in any sense, really. And it was just dreadful. And it felt like at half time walking around that ground, lower crowd than usual, football dreadful. This is a team sailing towards relegation at quite a rate of knots, unfortunately. Now, second half, totally different story. But that first half was really poor, and the midfield's a key point, like Lee said. When we saw that team sheet, we thought, all right, a little bit of worry here. There's not much fight in there. Maybe they're going toe to toe for Tonbridge just in terms of energetic football in the midfield. That didn't work. Tonbridge just took control, put their boots on our necks, and just ran us over. And then, sort of, when we did when we did have the ball, the centre halves just pumped it long, and almost every single ball was easily dealt with, unfortunately. Jefferson and Harrison Smith did try their best, but they weren't having much luck. And it just wasn't working at all. I don't know if the defenders avoided the midfield because they were told that, or because they had no confidence, or they had no belief. I don't know, but it was a really poor display, and you can understand why so many fans were very disappointed at half time.
You mentioned the team sheet, Jake. They had a new design last night. Well done, Johnny. You pushed her out. You got it. And not as many errors on it as usual either. It still has Saturday's referee on there rather than the proper one who was there last night. But hey, we're getting there. Right, towards half time, it's been mentioned Sean Jeffers went off with this virus bug thing, horrible, which doesn't sound too pleasant at all. On came Dom Hutchinson, a bit like a Castellani. It's unusual for him to see the end of a game, which he did. Going on then. The second half, what a transformation. We battered them, absolutely battered them, but scarcely created a chance. The goalkeeper didn't have much to do. Matthew Rowley, we had some time wasting to do. He was pretty good at that, pretty adept at that. But real saves, that was the only thing we couldn't get, was it? We just couldn't get the clear chances, which our endeavour in the second half deserved. And I think it was an own goal, isn't it? We equalised with in the end.
It was, but I've just sort of going backtracking, if I may. I do have a positive from the first half. And you spoke about saves. MJ made an absolutely fantastic save.
Yeah.
And there was a save that, bear with me, there's a save that James Russell made at home one time. And I thought that's the best save I've ever seen at Clarence Park. Last night, given the context of the game, that save was absolutely outstanding. I think MJ, and I turned to sort of Jake, and do you remember what I said to you, Jake, after Jeffers went off? I said to you, right, let's see who the leaders are now. Let's see who's gonna stand up and really take this game forward. Into the second half, it turns out the leader we had was one of the youngest players on the pitch in Harrison Smith, who I thought was absolutely monumental. What a player he's going to be. What a player. And I think what you're alluding to, Taz, is right in so much that we huffed and puffed and didn't really create a lot of clear-cut chances. But my God, you got players like him and Zane Banton, who was my man of the match last night. We kept turning that screw. And I thought the fans behind our goal were a bit, boisterous and raucous with their handball shouts. And there were a couple in there that were tight. I think we deserved to get that goal. It was extremely lucky and fortuitous, but you've got to be in there. We were turning the screw. And apart from a bit of pinball at the end that they had the chance, it was all us, that second half. All of us. And I thought you can see the value that Tafari gave and that Hutch gave. If we'd have had that in the first half, you see what I'm saying? You're spreading that side. And I think, all right, needs must, right? And we had to start pushing on. We had to give something. That first half wasn't acceptable. That second half shows when you got that little bit of width, we start moving players out of position. And a point doesn't really help us in the grand scheme of things. But I think given, again, the context of the game, we'll take it for now.
Before you go now, Jake, I just want to agree with you there, Lee, about Harrison Smith. What a physical presence he's got for a youngster. And he's using it quite well at the moment. And you can see he's gaining in confidence. So 2 goals he's got in the previous couple of games. It's given him renewed confidence, and the local lad wants to do well. You can see it. Everything about his game is good at the moment and positive. There are some rough edges in there. He's a long way off a finished article, but there's certainly a lot there to work on as well. All yours, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Harrison Smith was outstanding second half, considering he was up there doing a lot of work that maybe, he'd rather be 6, 10 yards out, wouldn't he, just put the ball in the net, but he was having to do a lot of link-up play, a lot of hard work, but he was doing it really well. And like you said, Lee, Zane Banton, Zane's been at this club for so long now. We know how much this club means to him. He is a real leader, and if we are to get anywhere near out of this mess, we need him to play like that for the rest of the season, don't we? Because he is a proper leader in the squad. We've not had many this season. Hopefully he can do that. But yeah, the link-up play going forward, really, really good. A little bit frustration at times, maybe not getting the ball in when we should have potentially, but really, really good all round. Tafari Moore, when he came on down the right instead of Wyatt, just looked so much more natural there. Hutchinson played his part, and also Mason on the left-hand side. He was really bombing on at times, wasn't he? Of course, Tonbridge sat back a little bit, but it allowed him to do it. I think midfield, we still lack some essential midfielder that could really dictate the play in there, that could control that game, that second half. But it was such an improvement. And you just have to wonder, why can we not do this for the whole game? Because if we had, we'd have had a chance of winning that game. Tonbridge were really struggling. They were struggling to cope with us by the end.
Oh, they were hanging on. And they got away with one there. No two ways about that. But then again, talking about the blocks there, credit to them. They blocked the ball when they needed to. They got bodies in the way. And the number of shots they charged down from around the edge of the box, it was a blooming high number. Of course, it could have all been immaterial had MJ not made that first half save. They'd gone 2-0 in at half time. That would have been it. And we would have then been fully punished for that dreadful first half display, which we mentioned it earlier. You two mentioned it earlier, but we can't keep starting late. In Culverhouse said it itself. We can't keep starting late. And we're all chasing the games because of it. We had to chase the last two and come back. We don't do it again Saturday, then again keep going on and on. We've got a situation now. We've got to lead from the front and put the other sides under pressure and hope we can build a suitable lead.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would say is that credit to our players in the second half, because Tonbridge, they were trying to time waste and take that sort of zing out of the game. Every single time someone did get in the way of a City shot, their players would go down. Their players spent more time on their arse than they did on their feet. But what happens is they were trying to slow it all down and take the momentum out of our play. And our players didn't allow that to happen. They were really, really good at keeping up that pace, keeping up that tempo, keeping the pressure on. And as hard as Tonbridge fought to really sort of slow the game down, we were excellent in just maintaining our discipline and maintaining that sort of tempo to the game. And Dave, we should have lost that entire game on our first half performance alone, mate. Make no mistake. But again, we're showing something. If it's enough, we'll find out sooner or later. But we are showing something that allows us to get back into games. What would be nice is to have that same endeavour to kickstart us into games from the absolute off.
I'm glad you mentioned about them going down. Tonbridge just play acting all the time. It's cheating, no two ways about it. And there's a clip which I hope I put at the start of this pod, which shows it with Gio's free kick, which went straight through to the keeper. There's two Tonbridge players there. One of them taps for him, and so the other one goes down. Almost to say, it's your turn, mate. And they can't deny it. It's there. It's awful what they did. That is not how football should be played. It's tough for the referee. He got a lot of stick for giving all the free kicks every time players go down. But it's the mentality of the players and what they're told to do by their coaches. That is not how to play football. It's shocking. All clubs do it. They took it to the nth degree last night. But I agree with you. I've got to give credit to our lot for the way we play football around the edge of the box, trying to break them down. It was good stuff. I hope the phone's decided to fall off.
Phone's been drinking.
Yeah, well, the phone from Made in Tonbridge is going down.
Yeah.
And just credit to our lot for that second half display. But we put ourselves in a pretty bad position and we weren't able to turn it into a winning position because of that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think you were correct in the ref isn't much he could do. But, I thought he fell for it with the amount of added time he added, especially at the end of the game. I mean, mean, was it even announced? I only saw it on the Tonbridge Twitter account, but 4 minutes, like absolutely ludicrous, frankly, given how much of that second half they spent rolling around the floor. Unbelievable.
4 minutes he did for both halves. He went 38 seconds over in that second half, and that doesn't scratch the surface. The same
No,
on Saturday. Again,
no,
totally underplayed
yeah,
what they should have played, and
yeah,
supporters are just getting ripped off.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we talk about supporters getting ripped off again in a minute, won't we, with a rearranged game? Um, Before we do the preview of
Lee's
Hampton,
gone as well. Oh, no,
I've gone. That's it. I'm down. I'm down.
your last man standing, Jake.
Makes a change.
Right, we've got news of Lewis Michio has joined Slough Town, and Iffy Allen's gone off to Needham Market. So the squad continues to change, and people are still wondering when are these experienced players coming in? Brandon Mason, first one, hopefully not the last one, because you see who else has gone: Joe Partington, Matt Lynch, Romeo Akinola, Dan Bowery, Sam Deadfield, Ben Smith. They're all senior players in that squad, and they've all gone. And what we brought in, on loan kids. Now, it stinks of a club having financial trouble, as some people have suggested, and we're just going down the cheapest route possible to try and get us through, try and keep us up. It's a really, it's a tough. I don't like using the same tough ass for these kids, but it is. You need experienced heads in there. You do need some of the youngsters, but you need experienced heads as well. And we've got to get the balance right. And at the moment, you're wondering what on earth's going on. We've got this new management team come in. They don't appear to have been given any sort of help to bring players in, apart from on loan kids. But hopefully, that tide is now turning with Brandon Mason.
Yeah,
I think it stinks, mate. Go on, Jake. Go on, buddy.
I was going to say, I do agree to you to an extent, but then the two that we've released in the last few days aren't what I would say in terms of a proper senior players in the squad. I mean, Lewis Michio has been hampered by injury, hasn't he, this season? And the couple of appearances he has had, he hasn't been spectacular. I think because partly he's been played out of his right position, but quite surprised he went in to see that he started straight away for Slough. And Iffy Allen's the same, got an injury, didn't he, at Dorking early on in the season and just hasn't really featured much. So, I mean, Ian Allenson, oh my God. Ian Culverhouse talked about in his post-match how there'll be a couple more bringing in. And this feels like, again, just releasing the budget to make that space. But yeah, but then if you compare it to Welling, who have brought in a load of names from Eastbourne and a couple other clubs, again, have they that budget situation? Just a question mark, isn't it? Sorry, Lee.
No, I was just going to say, you're absolutely spot on. But also, it stinks of a new management duo coming in and cleaning out the players who, some of them, don't forget, some of them left off their own accord. They wanted to leave, right? So we can't stop them. And they can sleep well at night knowing they're going to get a few quid more. Fair enough. You don't want players, you right there, mate. You don't want players who aren't going to make an impact. Your Akinolas and Allens, nice fellas, but again, they're not going to change a game for you, really. I don't mind the kids, but don't forget, these fellas have come in a situation which is far from ideal. The running that they had, but given what they've had to deal with, they're trying to get people in who are young. They're trying to get energetic. Tabs, I think I made this point to you last week. Just because they're kids doesn't mean they're not any good.
I didn't say they are.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think there's a consensus that because they're young, they're not going to add anything to the team. And you would rather have an experienced head in, of course. But your Matt Lynch's and stuff, if they don't want to be here, or the attitude isn't right for what Ian and Basil want, then there's no point. The fight is hard enough without people just coming to collect a paycheck. And because you've got a bit of experience, it's going to be turning around for you. We need players who are going to want to contribute to the situation we're in. I can't for 1 minute think of a situation where if the right player comes along, we don't get him based on money, because I think the club has spent good money over the last year to get players in, and the established players, your Deadwoods and your Paynes, haven't worked out, right? So there's no guarantee by getting experienced players in it's going to work any more than getting young, hungry kids in, inexperienced, albeit.
I totally agree. I've got nothing wrong with bringing youngsters in. It's just the sheer number of them. And you look at someone like Ian Culverhouse, all the experience he's got as a manager and the success he's had as a manager, he will know players. And they would have been thinking, him and Basil would have been thinking, well, so almost needs strengthening here and there. And we move him out, and we bring in so-and-so. And so-and-so hasn't arrived. He's not arrived. It is just youngsters all the way. Brandon Mason was offered to other clubs before he was offered to us at our level. So, again, that suggests it's not one of their signings, although it looks a good addition. And you just wonder, why aren't there ones coming in? If you new manager, you look at Hemel. Lee Anson's brought in players he knows and others, and they're now picking up on a great run, 3 straight wins, plus others before that. They're doing a terrific job there. And you mentioned Welling, bringing in players as well, but we're just going down this one route of kids. Now, that's great if they all can contribute, but that is asking a hell of a lot at a kid in a relegation battle.
Sorry,
in a relegation
what
battle.
are you doing? You got
some bloody room here.
Some
in my
1970s
way.
catalogue post. That was not a good look, mate. Especially the phones at that
dear. I mean,
everything's falling to bits here.
mate, we can see the bits. Just great. Bloody hell.
I do get where you're coming from, David. It's hard to compare, isn't it? Because Ian Anderson's got contacts locally in terms of, so it's with that side, and the players that they may want to come in might be a little bit out of reach. I mean, we brought in Harrison Smith, didn't we, for a decent deal? Yeah. And hopefully Brandon Mason is the start of another. But I just wonder if, Culverhouse and Basil, are they just thinking that we need the energy of youth in this team? I don't know. But I think a lot of fans just want to see an experienced head in that midfield. And maybe other players who they thought would step up haven't potentially in this squad so far. Maybe some other senior players that they thought would, maybe haven't. And do they still need to try and address that in the remaining couple of months of the window?
Yeah. Well, I just find it fascinating that new managers come in and not brought any of their players, which is what you expect with managers at non-league level. Wherever they go, they take some of their familiar faces with them. But time will tell on that one. But look at the loan ones that come in. Bendel, Clarridge, Hutchinson, Woodman, Wyatt, that lot are currently in the squad now. I think Ruben Wyatt is struggling at the moment to make an impact. Clarridge is hit or miss. Hutchinson, unfortunately, I've never been a fan of his since his first spell at the club, so I think he can still offer us a lot more. The two, which I think are doing quite well, Bendel, I think we still get more out of him as well. And then Dion Woodman, who's proved to be pretty good signing. He's now on 4 bookings, and Long King picked up his 5th booking on last Saturday, I think it was. So, no, it wasn't. It was last night. So he will miss.
Welling.
I'm not sure. It should be Welling. Welling, I've got him down as well. Yeah.
Good stuff. Great.
Right. Talking of Hampton, we got them on Saturday. Alan Julian, first season as manager. What a terrific job he's done. They're just 5 points off the playoffs. Be incredible if they get in the playoffs. 1 defeat in 10. They won at Torquay Saturday, beat Weymouth last night. Somebody described Weymouth as the worst side they've seen this season. It's because you weren't at the park last night. But last 9 games against them, we've won 7, drawn 2, so we've got a good record against them. They got Alfie Williams there, son of Dean Williams. So Dean will be there Saturday. El City striker, he'll be signing autographs all match, you would have thought. Evening, Dean. Do we fancy our chances for that one? We've got to win. Anybody?
We've been saying that for the last month, though, Sam.
Yeah,
so,
we
don't want to put a jinx on it, mate. I don't know is the answer. The thing is, Hampton, yes, Alan Julian's had a good first season, but ultimately, we've got to take this game to them, irrespective of who it is. I think from here on in, if we start games like we did on Tuesday night, then we've got no hope in hell. And quite frankly, we get what we deserve. I think he'll change the formation a little bit in time for Saturday. I think the team that finished on Saturday is probably going to be more like somewhere there or thereabouts. The team that starts, this team that ended on Tuesday. But we can't have any more slip-ups. I know mathematically, we're not quite there yet. But I think even last night, I was talking to a few people as I was walking around to change ends at half-time, bumping into fellas. And they were very much along your way of thought, Tabs, is that it's done. They're almost resigned to it now. I still think there's a little bit of fight left in the season yet. But then again, I'm younger than you, Tabs, so I've probably got a bit more exuberance about it, mate. But I think we cannot have any more slip-ups. Lose on Saturday, and I think it's pretty much a dire situation.
Jake, you can be far more optimistic than either of us two, can't you?
Well, unfortunately, I agree. We do need to win Saturday. We don't need to go into it scared. Tonbridge are, only a point behind Hampton, and second half we absolutely battered them. We should have won. So if we can apply ourselves and play with a positive style of football, be it a bit more direct at times, whatever, use the width, we've got an opportunity. Like Lee says, I think some changes. I think Tafari Moore will hopefully come in from the start. I wonder if we might see a change in midfield. Will we see potentially a new signing come in if they manage to get any over the line before the weekend? Potentially. And I think up front is a big question mark, isn't it? Ken Charles, I don't know what's going on there with the chin splints at the minute. He seems to be out and struggling, and no word on if he's returning to training. So what are we going to do alongside Dom Hutchinson, alongside Harrison Smith? Will it be Dom Hutchinson, worked fairly well, or will we look to maybe put a couple of players behind him potentially in terms of link up? Be interested to see what we do in terms of the team for Saturday.
Well, we don't want a draw, do we? That will equal the club record of 5 consecutive league draws. And the last time we had that in a season, it was the first 5 games of the 2010-11 season. At the end of it, we were relegated. So it could be deja vu. We don't want that, do we?
No. But I mean, the draws aren't helpful right now at all. But
not at all.
It proves we've got a basis, haven't we? We're not getting demolished in games. We've got a basis there now. We just need to go out and actually start scoring some blooming goals to give ourselves some hope of getting out of this.
But really, apart in that run, Torquay is the only surprising draw, really. All the others, you would, if you're going to get out of trouble, you would hope to get points out of those games. And we haven't won any of them. Now we've got Hampton, Welling, and Slough coming up, and Bath and Hemel. Yeah. Again, you've got games in there which you not only can win, you've got to win.
Yeah.
Well, I know we keep saying it, but the teams above us, they're going to pick up wins occasionally as well, as we've seen. And it's looking desperate.
It is. But this run of fixtures, I think every game is must win now, isn't it? We cannot afford to keep dropping points. Next 2 especially, got to be 6 points, I think, unfortunately. I think if we lose on Saturday, like you said, Lee, it's pretty dire, isn't it? It's been pretty dire for a lot of the season, but yeah, we cannot afford to sit back and just hope that another team is going to slip up and we can slowly catch them. We need playoff form now, don't we? Really? So
yeah. But I remember Ian when Ian Anderson, he said need to win. Was it 8 of the last 12 or 8 of the last 15, whatever it was? And right on the final day, he got that 8th win. Well, 8 wins now gets us 24 points. Still gets us relegated. So we really have got to step up and beyond.
This is chirpy.
There we go. Right, let's have some predictions for Saturday. I got Saturday right. Lee got last night right. Jake hasn't got a clue, so you can go first, Jake.
Excuse me.
Brutal stuff.
I'm going to go 1-0 Saints. 1-0 Saints.
Get in there. Go on, Ed Lee.
I'm going to go 1-0. Why not?
Goodness sake.
4 in a row, 1-0, yeah.
Playing for territory, absolutely.
Well, I was actually going to go for a 1-0 win as well, Jake, but now you've stolen my thunder.
Hey.
Well, let's go mad, shall we? City get over the halfway line, twice shock, 2-2 draw.
Hey, we did that's very harsh, Dave. We did have a question from a viewer saying before we move towards the end, do we see any of the teams above us having that terrible run in form that will help us out? I think Welling look like with that squad now, don't they? They should be all right. Maybe someone like Bath, even Slough. I just had a question mark over Slough. They've suddenly really fallen off, haven't they? But are we going to have enough points to catch any of these teams anyway? But can you guys see anyone that we could potentially drop like a stone that we could catch?
Well, Welling was the one, wasn't it? But they've made their
Yeah,
changes, as you say, and they got that win at the weekend. Still 9 points above us. So we've got a game in hand on them still. So next week's game, week or Saturday, that is vital. No two ways about it. Bath have had a good run of late. They picked up under a new manager as well. But they're still possibly in catching distance. They got a game in hand on us. Again, the game at Twerton becomes important. Salisbury, I still think, can slip into trouble yet, despite their upturning fortunes. Beyond that, I don't see anybody else being sucked in. The Slough, I'd be amazed if they do, despite their current form.
yeah. We just need to stay alive, don't we? Somehow, however it is, just get some wins on the board, get over the line. We've got to.
Well, I've actually we've had an email coming from CK. He asks, "Hi guys, results aside, the fan atmosphere on Saturday was absolutely brilliant, and once again flat at home, especially in the first half. This always seems to filter down to the team, who have an appalling home record and always seem to be right in it when we're away. So, I think it is a point. Last night was really, really somber in the first half. But the thing is, we spoke about this, haven't we? The away fans who follow Saints up and down the country, they're invested more in the team and the football rather than anything else. When you get people at the home game, chances are they're there for something to do, and they're there for the concessions and having a good day out. So I think the people who are there generally for the love of the team are going to show that passion and desire a bit more vocally. Just because you don't shout and holler doesn't mean you don't support the team, obviously. But I think you always get the diehards who go to the away games and travel, as you say, Dave, 200 miles down to Salisbury. So I think home is different, isn't it? It's difficult because whilst the size of the crowd is good, you've got different sort of pockets of the different demographic of fans, and to come together as one in unison to support the team vocally is always difficult. Where on an away game, you're probably all going down there with the same mentality. You're going to shout yourself hoarse and sort of cheer on the boys.
Of course, last night was the first time we've had under 1,000 for a league game at home this season, which was a Tuesday night against Tonbridge. Maybe not that big a surprise. A decent gate, but it was the first one under 1,000. Of course, we remember good supports, Lee. Do you remember the excellent support we had at Ashton Gate that time? City supporters are absolutely brilliant. We wouldn't have got those 2 goals without that, would we? What about 9 at the other end? Where's Lee?
I'm off.
Oh, he's back
I'm
again.
off. I'm here. Don't worry.
Anyway, yes. Sorry, Jake. Yes.
Well, I was saying, was there anything else you want to mention before we go, Dave? Something about a rearranged game at Hemel?
Yes.
Hold tight.
Yeah. Right. MIFC is 17th of February, isn't it? A Monday?
Yes.
A rearranged game. Looking at a tweet something Hemel posted, they wanted to do the game at a reduced admission price. The takings are going to be split 50-50 between the 2 clubs, and apparently that wasn't suitable. Work can only be unsuitable to one party. So, guess which that is? Which again, people say, financial worries. Are there? I don't know, but that's the immediate response I had from that post. Anyway, the game is on 17th of February. Do either of you 2 wish to comment?
Well, Jake, I'm not putting you in the crap here, mate, but you do know the media fella at Hemel. So there's a train of thought there that Hemel want to do the right things by the fans who turned up. I don't know. Was there an option to perhaps honour the people's tickets who paid the first time around online, or I don't know how it all works? But I think if what you're alluding to, Taz, is that our club have said no to Hemel's proposal, that's quite bad taste. That's bad taste if that is the case, and maybe the wrong people are making the decisions behind the scenes at Clarence Park. But because you want to get as many fans there as possible to support the team, especially in the situation we find ourselves in, local derby as well. And I know there were a number of fans who went the first time around. They're really counting the pennies, right? And to have no way of sort of maybe getting in for a little bit cheaper the second time around, if the club have said no, it's a poor show.
It looks like Hemel acknowledged, yeah, we made money on the first game. We're still going to make a bit of money this game, but goodwill, because once a game's gone past half time, yeah, I think you do have to pay full price for the replayed game. But they were showing a bit of goodwill towards supporters.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything from people I know at Hemel, and it's hard to say, isn't it, without being in the room with the discussions. But whatever the decision, the wording of the statement just leaves question marks, doesn't it, for fans of both clubs as to how that decision's been reached. So, as you say, Lee, we don't really know why. But yeah, just another. Just, I think the wording of the statement was quite interesting, wasn't it? Really, you don't sort of see that sort of comments around rearranged games, and I think part of the reason as well because the league rules around rearranged games are quite strict in terms of admittance and free entry. So a lot of hurdles, but yeah, just a bit of an interesting one, wasn't it?
I think we're done, and we were into extra time already.
But thank goodness for that. We've bored the people enough.
Only 4 minutes.
Brilliant. Right, if we've got nothing else we want to mention, Podful of Saints on Twitter, email below, get in contact. Thank you all for the comments and questions and views. Appreciate it as always. And everyone coming and say hello, enjoy the podcast, really appreciate it. And how much they love Dave. Dave is everyone's favourite, clearly.
You're the favourite.
That, Jake.
Oh,
Jake, you are the mummy's favourite, Jake. There's no two ways about that. And
that's a concern with it in itself, Dave, isn't it? So anyway,
I just want to say thanks to the fans that did come up and say how much I enjoyed it on Saturdays down at Salisbury. That was nice. Thank you.
Brilliant. And on that very positive note, thank you all for watching. We will speak to you again next week after the Saints do something against Hampton. Let's hope it's a win. Come on, you Saints. Bye-bye, everyone.